это местные микрофоны, которые...
Так они вообще не выдают зум.
Прошел.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Нет, меня слышно, но ведь здесь. Все, могу я?
Can I?
Мария Михайловна. Здравствуйте, вы меня слышите? Нет, она меня... Мария Михайловна, вы меня слышите? Нет.
Miss Dronova, can you hear me? No, she can't.
Начинаем? А?
Shall we start?
Да, но мне надо ей сказать.
With Dronova, but we need to tell her.
Вызовите, пожалуйста, презентацию Дроновой первую. Сюда.
Could you please switch on Miss Dronova's presentation? Good afternoon.
Конечно.
Of course. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Please take your seats. Today, we have a little bit of replacement with a moderator. My name is Yelena Zelentsova. I am vice president of Skolkovo, and instead of Mr. Karpkov, who left together with the head of the republic, I am going to hold this round table dedicated to the monocities and the role of the big business in the development of the monocity. Today we have many speakers, so therefore I would like you to stick to the time limits. We have foreign colleagues who are going to join us via video calls. And we are asked to start the conversation with Maria Dronova, who represents Euros Holding. She is getting connected now. But I would like to say that very few forums now can last without monocities topic, because it is high on our agenda. It is high in the agenda of corporations. So we combine this topic with large business topic, because it has always been the driver of city creation and formation. And their job is to keep people at some place, make their life more comfortable. So shall we start, if Maria Dronova is ready? She is going on air. Maria Dronova is a director on relation with the state authorities and on charity of Euros Holding, and she will help us to immerse in the agenda of a big company from the perspective of monocities development. Maria, good afternoon. Hello. Hello, dear colleagues, dear participants of the forum. I am happy to greet you at this forum. I'm very sorry that I couldn't be here in person at this amazing event. Unfortunately, our company has restrictions on movement throughout the Russian Federation, and today's epidemiological situation creates some circumstances that we cannot resist. But thank you very much for this opportunity to tell about the Euros holding experience in this warm, sunny day. Let me tell you a few words about the essence of Euros holding. I would like to show you a presentation. Could you please transmit it? Here we see the presentation. Thank you. What is the essence of Euros company? Euros is the largest integrated meteorologic and exploring company. We are situated in Russia, Kazakhstan, USA, Czech Republic, and Canada. For 2019, we produced almost 14 million of steel. Briefly, Euros is a railway that moves us down the roads of Russia. These construction beams that are used for building bridges, houses, for example, a bridge in Crimea, that was built thanks to our company. The segments of our companies are three. We produce steel. Our company also deals in coal. Our assets are situated in Kemerovo region. In the Northern America, we produce large diameter pipes for infrastructural objects and facilities of the USA. Euros has about 74,000 employees throughout the world. We do our business in 9 mono-cities of Russia. The next slide shows a few cities we occupy. Not all of them, not to take too long. Firstly, I would like to tell about Kachkanar town in Sverdlovsk region. As a charity deed, we were doing some of it, and we were trying to do a little help here and there. But last 2 or 3 years, we follow the modern tendency initiated by Kipkov, and we started to help infrastructural facilities, and we understand that our help will be appreciated. In Kachkanar, we built a project that was already put into operation. This is a sport complex called Euros Arena. And citizens of Kachkaran, the city occupies 50,000 people. They are capable to do sports out, work out, to play basketball or volleyball. That's why for such a little but important town, this is a valuable contribution because it works within the demography program. This program is important as well because the future of our town is a main goal. The next slide also relates to Kachkanar town. This is a town in the north of the country. So we helped to create and transform a roller track. We opened it with a biathlonist, Mr. Shakurnatov. Before, they hadn't had such a track. But we transformed it, helped by and supported by the city council. We think that this will facilitate the town in such socially unsteady time. To be brief, I would like to tell what we are doing now. In particular, in Kachkanar, we decided to build one more palace of martial arts. Such types of sports are pretty popular with the citizens, and we invested 300 million rubles. The construction hasn't been completed yet, but by late 2021 or early 2022, we will put this into operation. On this picture, you can see the project of the future complex, and I believe that Kachkanar citizens will appreciate and gladly use this institution. Also briefly, about two more territories not related to Sverdlovsk region. They belong to Kemerovo region. This is our second location, and this is very important territory for us because in Kemerovo region we have famous West Siberian metallurgic integrated plant and coal plant and ore plant or assets of our company. Междуреченsk town is a special town for us because citizens pretty much appreciate and value what is created for their town, and we respect this appreciation. So, supported by the citizens and the city councils, we defined those spheres and structures that we can be helpful with. For example, background play yards, photo zones in city parks, and so on. The last page, the last object, the last town that we love and appreciate is Tashtagul in Kemerovsky region. I believe that pretty few of you know that Tumanaya Mountain, that is now a place of attraction for ski sportsmen from Russia and outside Russia, was firstly explored 20 or 25 years ago by our shareholders and head of the city council, and we really appreciate his contribution. After decades, we see that this facility is appreciated a lot in the country and outside it. In Tashtagolsky district, the city council and citizens support us in helping people with playgrounds. A lot of metallurgic plants do this, but we renovate and repair the yards, help citizens with lighting, because Tashtagolsky rayon is very long and our task is to provide them with security and safety. We help them to repair and renovate houses of culture, so-called. I may say that thanks to the region council, we can really implement this project because today we've built sufficient communication with the local authorities. And I hope that this cooperation will be long-term and privileged. Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you for such a substantial report. Before we go to have full-time speeches and be back to Bashkortostan, I'd like to give the floor to one more participant who is waiting for us online, is Takira Arzu. She is a co-founder of Urbanit Venture. She is a leading consultant on transformation of cities, on smart cities. And our Turkish colleague is going to say a few words dedicated to our roundtable. We are happy to greet you.
Добрый день. Hello. Не слышит нас коллега, судя по всему?
Good afternoon. I think this is my turn.
Yes, yes, it's your turn. We are waiting.
Okay. For the excellent organizations, I'd like to thank
Коллеги, а как будет перевод осуществляться? А, все, у всех наушники есть. Да, все, все. Так, а мы не будем ее слышать.
Actually, I'm hearing from here, so that's why I'm mixing up everything. So thank you for this excellent organizations, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening from different zones who joined this conference. I am joining from Florida. I'm starting. I remember 10 years. I remember 10 years ago, back in the days, here. I'm hearing, so I'm sorry for this. I'm starting here. I remember 10 years ago, back in the days, PR and media departments of cities were the one-way information providers to its residents and mainly share mayor's daily activities. The communication was reactive and far from engaging an interactive dialogue. Technology and the way we communicate has impressively changed in the last decade. We've been witnessing its reflection on the city communication landscape as well. Public-private partnership models, business models are also evolved over the course of the last decade. We've been witnessing its reflection on the city communication and landscape as well. Public-private partnership business models are also evolved over the course of a decade, thanks to emerging technologies and disruptive urban innovations. The massive change is a big challenge for the city leaders and also a big opportunity for those pioneers keep adapting to the time and stay on top of the technology. Developing transparent collaborations and democratizing data and finding the ways, creative ways of communication and marketing to engage with residents are the key to success. I like to share with you 5 strategies that city leaders can adopt to create a better future for their cities. Let me start with the first one. Effective participation by stakeholders in the government and public life strengthens democracy and governance at the local level. This yields informed and inclusive community built on trust. To do that, city leaders can effectively address the needs of the stakeholders. In addition to the traditional citizen participation in government, information collected through open data programs offer another avenue to improve the governmental transparency. Entrepreneurs and businesses don't just create wealth and jobs, they also play a huge part in solving urban problems that many our cities has been facing right now. Air pollution, transportation, climate crisis, and housing. One approach to help cities manage these challenges is to use technology to make our cities smarter by bringing governments, businesses, entrepreneurs together. Each city has different needs and challenges and also talents, richness, and opportunities. So I highly recommend starting with a stakeholder mapping and stakeholder engagement plan, set performance goals, and roll on the communication strategy for each program city works on. share the expected outcomes before and after case studies to communicate with the stakeholders transparently. The second strategy is to listen your residents. City leaders should pay attention to residents' concerns, questions, and foster dialogue between communities and the city. They shouldn't using communication platforms to just broadcast their messages. It takes real skill to know how to do that, and put that conversation together, focus it on solving a problem. According to a research made by Knight Foundation and Gallup, the stronger the attachment of residents to their communities, the higher the gross domestic product growth. We also know that people love someone or something, they will give their time, talent, energy, and treasure of it. Local leaders have to create cities that their citizens will love. Many city communication offices hire full-time staff dedicated to social media. Their job is to shaping and engaging content, responding to the residents' questions, concerns that came into social media, and listen to what topics they are talking on the social media platforms. The important task of social media team is also creating misinformation, correcting misinformation immediately. We've been seeing new titles at the city conferences like Chief Marketing Officer, Chief Communication Officers we haven't heard 5 years ago. Since cities haven't much chance to share their stories at either local or national media outlets, now they are building their own communication teams and covering the gap with their own content. For example, Mayor of Detroit hired a journalist as Detroit's chief storyteller. This is the first time I heard this title. He teamed with the writers, two videographers, and a photographer. His job was to give people a platform where they can see themselves and shape a narrative focused around the spirit of living and working in Detroit's neighborhoods. As he shared in an interview, the chief storyteller has autonomy over what they produce. He didn't have to ask mayor's permission all the time. And the fourth strategy is to use each platform strategically. Authenticity and accountability are the key in leaders' communication. Each social media plays a different role in people's lives. And city leaders should engage on each platform with authenticity. The communications team need to be proactively thinking about customizing the content, who you are reaching, on what platforms, and what time of the day. And the fifth strategy is integrating blending service delivery and communication. And innovative cities integrate communication and the services the city delivers. When I was living in Beyoğlu in Istanbul, if there was a broken street light, I could fill a formal website providing ID number, phone number, and email, and send a photo of the broken light. And a few days later, the mayor's team responds by texting when the light fixed and sending me the updates and photograph of the fixed lights, and then they used Twitter on their communication. This is a way of showing accountability to me as a resident and help me to feel that I am the part of the solutions by simply informing them. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'm here if you have any answer, if you have any questions. Thank you.
Спасибо большое. Очень интересное выступление.
Thank you very much. That was an interesting speech with communicative strategy for such cities. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions, but maybe we can hand it in to you by email. I would like to shift to the issues related to the hospitable Republic of Bashkortostan, where we have a good chance to work today, like a full-time way, offline. And I'd like to give the floor to Rustam Muratov. Mr. Muratov, we know that Bashkortostan has a program for development of monocities. We've heard two speakers. Our colleagues from Euros Holding said that they, as Maria said, used to give a little of charity, but now they build big facilities like embankments or sport institutions. Our Turkish colleague made us pay attention to communicational strategy working with residents. Can you please not mention the highest priorities for the Republic of Bashkortostan relating to monocities?
Good afternoon, dear friends. It's a pleasure for me to be here on this full-time forum in offline regime. So finally, we managed to meet all together here, and the sequence of business events started here in the Republic of Bashkortostan, and it's also has a great sense. So what concerns the question that has been asked? Probably soon we'll start working out some media platforms, and this will be a part of our strategy. And it's good when you have such an anchor partner as the Evraz company, which implements great projects. And now, unfortunately, I would like to speak about competition in which mono industry cities are working now. This issue is quite up to date nowadays, because it's an echo from the Soviet period when around one plant, one factory, all the cities and towns were organized. And you should understand, you should realize that this factory takes a big part of industry. So this problem is really important and topical. Today in the Republic of Bashkortostan, during the last half year, we have formed and created lots of tools to support business. And there are lots of tools to attract investments for some of our particular projects. And in these circumstances, it's hard for mono industry cities to develop. So we create some territories which quickly develop, but on the regional level, there are many things that are done for various territories, so we cannot concentrate on one particular city or town. And today we have a meeting with director of Monotown Development Director, and we realized that there are lots of measures of support for such towns and cities, but still we're developing some tools. But in these conditions, it's still quite hard for mono industry cities to create special space for investors and businessmen. So while we were discussing the activities of our mono industry towns today, we understood that the most important potential in the development of mono industry towns is management systems, systematic approach, and the search for some credo in which it will develop in the future. So we need to facilitate the diversification of the economy to make up roadmaps for further development. But the policy of division should be implemented as well. We should attract investments from the center, and there should be a transparent system of investment projects, and such towns, such cities as mono cities, it's hard for them to compete with other places, with other cities, with poly industry cities. So they should be developed separately and should be financed by some other organizations to get some bonuses, special bonuses for their development. And in other circumstances, all the cities and towns will be equal. So now we understand that mono industry cities should compete in their particular sphere. There should be competition among only mono industries towns. So we should try to facilitate the development of an economy, and first of all, we need to develop the living standards. And now our plan is to become one of the best regions of the Russian Federation, and we try to contribute all that we can to this, to develop new projects so that in each territory we could have quite high life standard. But similar to the first paradox, when we were talking about the first trouble, that the life in mono industry cities is quite hard, and now about 30 billion rubles were invested into the development of economy, but we cannot spend all the money on this development. So today, the government has decided that there should be some tool when we don't support financially some initiative without its development on the municipal level, first on the level of the city, and first they need to pack the project, to publish the project, and to start this implementation of their project. And you should stay in line to get some financial support from the regional budget. So, nevertheless, about 10 years ago, mono-industry towns had the status of priority and had certain characteristics of depressive regions, but and they got some support from the government. But today, the tools of support of the economy of such cities and of economy in general, all the cities, all the regions are equal. And so it makes it more hard for mono-industry cities to develop. About 6 billion rubles were invested, and it was invested to some mono-industry cities. But there was another project on non-industrial territory. It was connected with the storage of vegetables, and the territory which had no potential regime won the project. They got all the bonuses, and there is a tool for subsidizing some investors. And today there is no point to support mono-industry towns. So they need a really strong team there, a really strong management for their further development. So today we have planned lots of some particular actions within this forum. So we have a month to develop each mono-industry town, and there should be not only some special conditions created for the development of such mono-cities, but each step of such development should be worked out. Thank you very much. It's a really important report. The topic of mono-industry towns and of some unique districts of Ufa, the development of territories, is really up to date, and many people of various professions are interested in this sphere. People of various management levels, so small business and big business, the government of the Republic, the government of Russia. So now we live in the epoch when the city, the town, is a unique project. And in this sense, I would like to give the floor to the head of the City Council of Neftekomsk, to Radmir Mavleev, and to tell him that we can envy him, because despite the fact that he's the head of mono industry town, his position is quite a favorable one, because you have a unique project in your hands, and how to see it, how do you develop this project, what kinds of opportunities have you got? Well, I share the opinion of Rustam Hamitovich. Today we have lots of mono towns, and there are some towns such as Sarapul in Udmurtia Republic on the border of Tatarstan. And there are some tax preferences that such towns and cities can get for those people who are going to live on this territory. And as the data demonstrates, such small towns as Neftekomsk, and we take the second place on migrating growth. And thanks to those opportunities that we have on our territory, we can develop various projects. So these are some new transport types of public transport that we are developing right now. So these were produced in our town in Neftekomsk, apart from some details which were developed in other countries, and they were quite expensive, unfortunately. So this was produced by Autoplus company, and local entrepreneurs started developing some special technologies for creation of bumpers, for car bumpers, but in Neftekomsk you can produce bumpers for Ferrari, Maserati, and some other cars. So if you have such cars, you can address to us. And we have some special cushions for even some foreign cars in Neftekomsk. So we have quite big companies and factories. One of them is Autoplus company, which produces special equipment for the buses. And the second resident is the said company. We are developing on the north of, and we provide the north of our republic with our lamps. So when people decide where to live, the woman will ask where our children will study. So you should think of education as well, and think of construction of new schools. New schools were built quite many years ago here in this city. So, but everything should be comfortable, so we started building new schools, and now we switched to the greenery issue and the creation of comfortable city environment. So not so long ago, we brought new trees here to our city. One tree weighed about a ton, and we start the greenery project right now. You can see how it used to be and what it was before and how it looks now. So now we're developing the strategy, and we have our own website here, where you can find the information about all the trees that were planted in our city, such as lindens. And now Rustam Mitovich comes to our website, and if he prints something like, I would like to plant a tree, he leaves some information about himself, and they can do it. How much does it cost to plant a tree? So 15-year-old linden is about 15,000, but it's the most expensive tree there. So you can leave your step there. So you can see some boulevards, old trees are eliminated, are cut down, and we start new growths there. So we try to live according to our new abilities. So Marble Boulevard is one of our new boulevards here. So we have some advantages and disadvantages of this project. We bring trees from the abroad, but at the same time it gives us the potential for our further development. So you can see that most of the trees were from investors, and some sculptures that you can see here are made of wasted tires and some wasted materials. So if you start doing something like that, quite soon you can start doing some project like this. And this helps us to recycle some wastes properly, to reuse them several times. So we haven't stopped in winter and decided to continue our project. And we have planted several pines, as you can see here. And with the help of our active residents, we managed to create such zones. So these are some poplars that we planted not so long ago and created some art objects which are interconnected, and we see how our residents go through the streets and create special routes for them. This is one more alley of ash trees. So we try to make everything in granite, and we plant some new trees instead of old ones, which can be dangerous for our people. So we started using new grids, which could be used as benches as well. This year we have several festivals. So this is the creation of some Iron Man from the parts which could be recycled. And our young people actively take part in such projects. So you can see how they have distribution cabinet. Have decorated distribution cabinets. So this way, step by step, we develop the environment for our people, create new flower beds, and this is the next stage. We cut down some old trees, and we do not eliminate them. We use them to create new playgrounds. And this is the way we can create a new playground for children. We just need some old trees, timbers, and we create the path of health here. There are some new figures that we created with the help of these old trees. So the figure of the Tsar, we made it of some old marbles. We have some artists which are involved into these projects, and they create all these sculptures. All these characters are connected with Bashkir epic poems, which is called Ural Batur. This is Svetler Lake, and we have been working there for a long time. Worked there last year, and now we are going to switch to street art. So now our borders are closed, so we have the Russian format of this competition. Artists from Irkutsk, Moscow, and some other towns and cities create their works. These two works are situated in different parts of our city, but they can be combined. They all devoted to Victory Day topic, and these are situated in the cultural city of our town. So this way we develop our space, our social space, and this way we try to attract some people to our town. This place is situated not far from the lake. We try to make all the works quite bright because in autumn we usually have some bleak scenery, and some industrial projects help to change the environment. This year we've won the competition together with UFOR according to some New Year decorations. So we decided to call our city the city of Niflandia in New Year. We said that we are Niflandia, and we created the residence for the Father Frost and started competition among our dwellers, among our residents, and they took lots of pictures. The pictures were really bright, merry, and they look really sweet. So today I have found out lots of projects for myself as well, and if we start some of them in small cities, it will be really interesting for all of us, I suppose.
To be honest, I already want to go to Niflandia. I'd like to say that somehow your speech touched my mind oriented to tourism, because everyone is interested how to attract tourists. But tourists can be attracted only when citizens feel comfortable in their towns. It's ridiculous how people create conditions for their residents and somehow attract pool commerce from the outside. I am all for coming to Neftekamsk. Let's conduct a meeting there dedicated to monotowns or anything else. Why we should necessarily stick to Ufa? Yeah, I have already seen that you want to go. Actually, this section was supposed to be conducted in Neftekamsk. May I please have a word? That Neftekamsk only plants trees. Actually, this monotown is developing pretty rapidly from the point of view of management and administration. If you watch PR and information campaign during the pandemic, one of the best practices belongs to Neftekamsk, and recently we built a 55 modular hospital that was made of monoblocks produced in Neftekamsk. So the Corporation of New Development and Construction has already received 4 applications for building such hospitals. So we need to create trends as well. Thank you very much for this important comment. Yeah, we have 12 projects to be implemented in the TACIT. Okay, so our round table held a mono concert of mono city of Neftekamsk. And to be honest, guests will be happy with the development of the city as much as residents are. We poll the citizens about their attitude to the events that take place in their towns, and sometimes they don't believe that the city can host such events. So such events are important not only for us, for newcomers who are fed and given a place to sleep, but we want the citizens to feel involved, to feel engaged. I work in Skolkovo, and Skolkovo is a monotown somehow. It is an innovative town, and when we conducted a jazz festival for the first time there, people were really astonished about such an opportunity. We are so far from the sound, as I said. But you then realize how important it is to engage people into such activities in the town. So thank you very much for rendering such engaging and involving programs. I'd like to shift a bit the topic of discussion and to be more expert-like. I guess that all the experts who have held the floor share the opinion that researchers of city studies about cities is something that is not only a high matter, but it is something that makes a real tangible contribution into practical activities and practices. I'd like to hand the floor to Nadezhda Komendantova. She is with us via a video call. Nadezhda is an expert of International Institute of Applied Systematical Analysis. She has joined us from Austria. Nadezhda now in Austria, and she is studying the sustainable development issues. And she deals not only, she's into not only city scale but global scale, and she's going to tell us about the main trends and recommendations and what is actually your opinion.
This is a great and pleasure for me to be here. I represent International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis. We are a member of United Nations organization. Our goal is to support governments with development of strategies and action plans for its implementation. And I would like to share the screen. So if you could see my slides. Yes, this is our organization, and supported by national governments of 24 countries. And just examples of our recent projects is the strategy of industrial development of Kyrgyzstan, which was prepared for the recommendations of the government and was adapted recently, the last year, with a major focus on the growth in the regions, including sustainable development, green growth, and digitalization. My topic is about strategies of development cities. And I will not repeat here the background and information which was already very beautifully and comprehensively expressed by Mr. Muratov, but I just would like to highlight that 10% of population, a significant part of population is living in these cities. And that these cities are affected by different exogenous factors in their development. Demography, but also situation on the global industry and many other factors, which can be identified through comprehensive diagnostic study. In my presentation, I would like to make focus on three models of monocities, which include not only growing economy, but also shrinking economy, decreasing economy. The major goal to ensure quality of life for inhabitants and One example is the region of Güssing in Austria. This was a structurally weak developed region, and with identification of the point of growth, the strategy was created how to channel investment into strategic industries. Implementation of this strategy allowed to turn Güssing into one of the fastest growing regions in Austria. However, there were some buts, which are mainly dependency on support from federal and national financing schemes. Another example is the region of Freistadt, and the difference of this model is attraction of inhabitants into decision-making processes on the transformation of the monocity, but also into financing of infrastructure projects. The so-called crowd financing allowed to attract significant volumes of financing which was sufficient for infrastructure projects. And there were various methods of participation and models for inhabitants, such as through providing capital, rooftops of their houses, for panels, and several other models. So the key factor of success was here the management model, the organization, and the human capital in the region itself. Also, I would like to point out to other models which ensure the quality of inhabitants and allow create environment to finance social services, not only with attraction of private capital, but also with creating conditions which would allow to reduce significantly the required capital for social services, such as financing of community infrastructures, houses of elderly people, schools, and hospitals. There are different measures which are included into these models, and there are several models of such type. The most known one are in Eastern Germany, but there are also a number of such models for Austria, for the cities in Austria. Just to go briefly into the projects which we realized for development, for the strategies of development and creation of points of growth, one of them was the strategy of industrial development of Kyrgyzstan, which we prepared together with UNIDO, this is United Nations Industrial Development Organization. The strategy was approved last year and became the basis of law about industry in Kyrgyzstan. Here you could just see several methods which were used to identify the points of growth, but also to develop financing schemes and further on action plans for implementation of the strategy. There are also other models and methods to involve stakeholders, especially on the example of this strategy for Kyrgyzstan. We could see several different positions between various ministries. So the models like multi-criteria decision analysis or systems mapping were helping to bring positions together and to develop action plans for the next 5 to 10 years, which allowed to address goals and measures of these various ministries which were involved into implementation of the strategy. Another project is called LINKS, Linking Climate Change Mitigation, Regional Development and Infrastructure. It was supported by the Austrian Ministry of Development and had 3 major goals. One, to understand how such models of development can be financed. The second one, how to engage inhabitants into support of this model and to move them rather from socially accepting the model to active participants, to somebody who would support the goals, would also invest their capital in the form of crowd financing. And the third goal was to understand how this model of development could be transferred to other regions. And this is just one example where we worked. We worked in Morocco, but we worked also in Jordan, in Iran, and other countries, also in Central Asian region and in various regions of Russia. You could see some of the examples of work in this project, like computable general equilibrium model to calculate the financial flows on the regional basis and to validate and to see how the different inputs of parameters change would impact the whole financial sustainability of investment model. You could see clustering of various regions and their targets of development. You could also see stakeholder mappings with identification of various interests of stakeholders and their influence in the decision-making process and their targets, and further development of compromise strategies that the interests of these different stakeholder groups would be also addressed. And you could see various measures. Here we speak about 3 regions in Austria, Freistadt, Ebrechtsdorf, and Baden, how inhabitants can be involved through different awareness-raising measures, but also participation. You could see financial participation in Helios Sonnenstrom organization, and also in different other projects. And the final part of my presentation is about financing of social services, especially in conditions with limited budget. And here there are examples in Austria, for example, Hilfswerk Austria, which is a non-profit service provider with several thousands of employees and significant turnaround, was able to develop a model which was successfully then transferred in various countries, also including Georgia. And this was a model of financing of social services for care for elderly people, for example, for nursing homes, for financing on hospitals. The beauty of this model was that it allowed, through various combinations of financial means, to decrease the necessary measures of support, volumes of financing or contribution from the public budget, and to use rather this money as a seed money to bridge the risk for private capital. And therefore, we propose to conduct a feasibility study on evaluation of the situations in monocities and the feasibility of these various models which were showed, including the points of growth, but also the models on financing of social infrastructure with limited budgeting conditions, analysis of social needs of the monocities, of the frameworking conditions, and including the financial analysis and involvement of stakeholders and inhabitants. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention. You could find here my contact information, and I would be happy to address any questions. Thank you very much.
Большое спасибо, Надежда. Ну вот.
Thank you very much, Nadezhda. If we will be lucky enough to have time for 2 or 1 maybe question, we will. So I'd like to give the floor to my colleague Konstantin Abramov, the CEO of Russian Public Opinion Research Center Fund. And now we know that we also work together at Ron Hicks. I know that there are many interesting observations about the people's attitude and intentions and wishes. And they express their wish to live or not to live in some certain cities. I know that you have some new data.
We get new information each day, you know. We are one of the structures in the world that each day we start a new survey, national survey. In Russia, the first ones were in the USA and in some other countries, and now we make all Russia survey each day to take decisions, social and political decisions, economic decisions. We use this tool and many other tools, which today are implemented by various institutions which are involved into the issues of urban development. All these tools nowadays, and we have been doing this for the last 17 years, and we were introducing these tools into the management system. So when we need to take some decision, economic, political, social, and when they influence our society, they should be tested first. it shouldn't be they shouldn't be created by some separate heads and leaders, which can lead to the situation when our citizens and residents reacted totally differently to these projects, when some creative head of some region or city thought that he could make people happy by his or her actions. Actually, the citizens were dissatisfied with the results of these projects. And now we see that many decisions on the level of the government were not effective at all, and it led to the negative reaction of our citizens. And now I can give some example. One of the brightest examples, it was in 2004 or 5 year when there was monetization of some bonuses for people, and many politicians thought that they made a great gift to those people who got these bonuses. But actually, it led to the situation when after New Year, people came to the streets in small cities, in small towns, and they started protesting and made some riots, giving the government some special signs. They wanted to see that they were not satisfied with their decisions. So they were connected with the system of the payment for roads, and no one asked anything from our citizens. So we should use more effectively the road map and road schemes, and they wanted to implement this project, but most part of the population who were supposed to be interested in the project actually turned out to be on the other side. They were protesting against this new project. And as one of the speakers has already mentioned, Takir Arzu has mentioned this, one of the main conditions of each infrastructure projects is the communication with our citizens, with the city residents. So we should do something for those people who we want to attract to our territory, to the citizens. So, well, I'm quite lucky to be here. I have such nice company here, the people who made the presentation, the technician on the one hand, and some of people who took part in competition actually, but he performed as a politician here. So I would like you to improve the life standards of our people. So how do we measure this? We use various tools. So one of these tools is systematic qualitative feedback from our citizens, and such a tool, Russia is one of the countries which uses these tools on the federal level quite actively and successfully. As for the local level, we had quite an interesting project implemented, an active citizen. And we had lots of such projects around Russia. But in Moscow, the number of active citizens was about 200,000 people, and they say that it was even more. But as far as I'm concerned, the number of people who take part in voting has decreased. So it was a new tool, and each new tool has some advantages and some disadvantages, which cannot be seen right on the spot. And now we can see quite many disadvantages which made Moscow residents dissatisfied with the project, with this tool. It's a new tool, it's technological, it's quite interesting, but it can be dangerous. So once we conducted a survey connected with a new name for Watkinsky station, but when we started making representative survey, they not of active citizens who supported this idea. And when we conducted another survey among all other people, the results were totally different. So it shows that this tool can be quite effective, but not all the time. Now we say that the most important part of urban studies is to attract people to the cities, to the towns, to make people smile so that they could invite other people there and say that they really like their native town and they invite others to live there. And actually this is the highest degree of trust. So when we invite some other people to our cities. So one of our colleagues mentioned such term as involvement. We need to involve people. We need not only ask about them and them, but we need to involve them in the decision-making process. To take decisions on the basis of the surveys, it wasn't something that we created. It was something that our citizens wanted to implement. As for the first report, Maria Dronova, thank you very much for your report, and we are glad that we all cooperate with business, and we have already gone through the stage when it wasn't just a charity project, but now we have some social investments to the regions, and we have a special product that we offer to our big companies, big partners, business partners, which invest into mono-cities so that their work was more effective in cooperation with local people, and so that we could get some feedback, some high-quality feedback from residents. There are quite interesting IT projects and it helps to make the system more of high quality, and we need to involve people in cooperation with the government. So we had some examples. Well, once in Vladivostok, a leader, one big leader during the election campaign, and this was the governor elections. So after this head came to the region, the rating of this prospective governor was decreasing because the sum of money they were talking about, 5 billion rubles, it was nothing because they believed that the money would be stolen in the future, and they needed some actions. They didn't need any money, so any figures, because these are too big sums of money, and they don't believe that the money would be involved into the improvement of the city. Some people live on 5,000 rubles a month, and so they have another scale of thinking. So during the coronavirus, we observed the situation of reaction of various people to the changes, and senior citizens turned out to be the most pacific and quiet people. The greatest panic was among young people who got into a new world. They got into the first crisis in their life, and they didn't really understand what to do next and how to react. It was about 50% of all people. So who should the government start working with? So we decide this. We develop our new communicative strategies. We thought at first that senior citizens would be in panic first. But it wasn't like that. They were quite pacific. They were set to stay at home, and they stood at home. But young people reacted totally differently. Their attitude to crisis was quite negative. Such people of about 45 and 65 years old, they quite negative reaction to this virus. People are not afraid of getting ill, but they are afraid that when they leave their houses, they will find no job, that the unemployment will start. And they are quite afraid of such a situation. They are afraid of losing a job. And this is the greatest their fear. So the greatest fears are in the sphere of economics. So, my dear colleagues, I want you to develop some new programs and strategic programs, and I want you to take into account lots of factors, but one of them should be feedback from your residents so that you could allocate all the resources appropriately. And human resources are also really important, and when people are involved into the process, when they realize that you do everything for them, they take it gratefully, and they are glad to be involved in such projects. Thank you for all such people who fight with the economic situation, and to those people who fight for the development of our economy. Thank you very much, Konstantin. I liked the way you spoke about human resources. All the forums, all the roundtable discussion devoted to the development of cities, they are all about people. Now I want to make a joke. Now we are living in a quite creative period of time. I'm not quite sure if it's a joke or not a joke, but you should make such a kind of survey of successfulness of some cities. Well, there are some popular cities such as London, St. Petersburg, Moscow, and people started suffering when their relatives from their native towns wanted to come to them, to visit them, and to live, to stay with them for some time. So now I would like to make a kind of survey when people from some small towns, such as, for example, Neftekamsk, to ask them how often do people from other cities and other towns want to visit them, and how often they want to stay there. So this way we can create some rating of all the cities and all these towns, which one is the most successful one and which one is the least successful one. And this helped to reflect the real situation in our world. And as our session is the final one in this blog, I would like to express my gratitude to our colleagues from the Republic of Bashkortostan, to the government of the Republic of Bashkortostan, to all the participants and all the speakers of our forum, to all the experts and our patient experts who were with us in our video conference online. Thank you for the opportunity to see each other in online format. We've listened to many foreigners, and we'll have the recordings, and I hope we'll have lots of views. So thank you very much to all the participants. We wish you good luck, success, and now we have finished our session. Thank you very much for participation.